I always find it hard to find a YouTube video that makes me passionate enough so I can talk about it. But I'm getting better at it, and I found something this morning, so I want to talk about it, and I even took notes. So this is going to be uncut, unedited, raw, except for the notes, but I'm going to interspace my own opinions because this kind of touches me. And I won't say I'm a fan of Jillian Michaels, but I like what she has accomplished, and I would like to see that for myself also. So it's kind of like a role model in a certain sense, though I don't necessarily follow her all the time or agree with everything she does. I mean, you have to kind of be yourself as you go through this journey of being who you want to be. Now, that being said, the title of the video was with the YouTube channel Big Think. I'll post it in the description so you can see the full video for yourself. It was called Weight Loss, Simple Science Until Our Emotions Intrude. That is so true. Taking something so simple, so not rocket science simple, but regular science simple, and making it so complicated. A lot of the times it's our minds, our minds, our emotions. Psychology is like so important in everything, I believe. So she had stated some notes she'd stated in my notes that weight loss and being healthy is a simple science. You just eat less and you move more. Fat is stored energy, and you just need to use common sense with your food choices, which is all true. I'll just put that right there. People use food for a variety of emotional reasons, and this is so true for all the clients that I've dealt with and talking with them, and even myself. I mean, I have certain issues with food, though I eat a lot, but a lot of the times I wouldn't make the best choices either. And it took a while to kind of figure out why I'm doing that. And part of the reason is that I didn't want to know why initially. Does that make sense? Let's move on. So she goes on to say people use food for a variety of emotional reasons, like coping mechanisms, affording a deeper connection with another individual in their lives. Yeah, a lot of social interaction is dealt around food, which isn't a bad thing. It depends on your perception of it. Meaning that if you perceive a certain date with someone or a certain social gathering with certain foods, it can trigger some emotional responses in you, like going home for Thanksgiving, being that we're Thanksgiving now. Then it could kind of trigger problems that you had with your parents, or happy things that you've had with your family, and you're worried about overeating, and it kind of gets up in your head, and then you stress over it, and then it's a big dilemma. So she quoted someone else's quote, and initially she said, well, I thought that guy was an asshole saying that. Basically, the person said people are fat because they want to be fat. And she then believed that it was true, and to a certain extent I believe it's true also. There's a lot of, if you watch my 600-pound life, Biggest Loser, I've only seen that maybe once, but let's say my 600-pound life, a lot of people have something that kind of triggered their eating response. A death in the family, being rejected, shame, guilt, all those things. For myself too, that you have to, your body is your temple, and you want to put good things in it. Sometimes when you put bad things in your body, it can be a reflection of you not caring about your body. I know I would go through periods where, you want to have a cheat meal. Why? Why do you want to have a cheat meal? What is that? A source of happiness? A source that you've done something good, and you could have the food that you really love because that brings up memories of when your brother or mother was nice to you, and that's what she gave you, and so you have that relationship with the food, and so you always want it, so you see it as great. I don't know. So next step, like I said, she also said, a connection with a parent. Parents. I had one client, she might be watching this, who's off on vacation for her birthday, and she's talking about pumpkin pie because that's what she likes and that's what her parents always made. So sometimes you have a connection with that and it brings happiness. Not saying that any of these things are bad, having happiness with connection with food. The thing is to be aware of it. I think that's important. Another one is a connection with grieving the loss of somebody. So you get this feeling that if you stop eating a certain food or eating a certain way, that you've moved on with your life and you're no longer connected to the other person. Which I understand. A lot of people emotionally eat, as I've been stating. The thing is that they don't know why. You have to know why you are doing this. I've only learned recently some of the things that I've done that I didn't know why I was doing it. I had a reason in my head, but it was like a blanket reason. I'll get it. I'll see if I get more into that in a bit. Again, people using food as a sense of control, a defense mechanism of being vulnerable or getting hurt in relationships. Yes, that's very true. Or for myself, getting hurt by anybody. You know what I mean? In the sense for myself, I'm trying to relate this to myself and see if anybody else has the same connection. I'm just kind of putting myself out there. It was recently that I realized that, putting junk food in my I do have it occasionally, but like 90% less than I had in the past decades, and it boiled down to me having, self-esteem issues. As long as you looked a certain part, but you didn't live the lifestyle to the 100, and no one knew. They kind of judge you by an exterior, right? So what I did was no one else's business, even though I made some of it pretty public, I didn't hide it. But the thing is, it just kind of reflected what I felt about myself as I kind of learned, you know what I mean? And once you get a better self-esteem, you think twice about putting certain things in your mouth. You do. And especially when you care less about what people think about you. That's another thing. So, she goes on to state that because it requires us to give up something that has been providing comfort and the defense against hurt for a very long time. Talking about, eating in terms of relationship issues, I believe. Or just food in general. You use your food as your go-to. People close to me know that I do have a few go-to foods, but there's relatively healthy. So when you're transitioning to better foods and a healthy lifestyle, it's good to have a schema, as we call it, or a certain pattern that you go to whenever something kicks in, like anxiety or some emotion. That I'm talking for myself, that is how I kind of guided myself away from certain foods, that I would just kind of pick all of a sudden, you know, like as a habit, like, okay, finish the gym, go to McDonald's, finish walking down this street, I'm going this area, oh, okay, I'm going to have a poutine, which is fried and cheese curds and sauce. That's typical to people in French Quebec, Canada. So, getting on to the next thing here. When dealing with people, this is from Jillian herself. All these quotes are from Jillian. I just took notes and I try not to paraphrase them, but I'm kind of interjecting my own opinion and experience upon them. So when she deals with people coming to The Biggest Loser, she would say, why do you want to be healthy? What does this mean to you? What does healthy mean to you? What does healthy look like in your life? And this is the frustration that I've had throughout my fitness career dealing with people, is that people don't know. They don't think about it that deeply, you know? They do have superficial motivations, which are not bad initially. Like, if you want to look good, don't be shy. If you want to look good, that's the reason behind your motivation. Eventually, it may mutate, because sometimes looking good, it tends to be seasonal, you know, for the beach. And then after that, you kind of hibernate and you get fat again. So she had stated that, you know, I want to wear a two-piece instead of a one-piece because I'm 22. Or I want to see my grandchildren graduate from college because I'm 62. Or I want to have sex with the lights on, which she said was overrated. I personally like it 50% dimly lit. You know, you see, but you don't see too much. Want to keep the fantasy, right? Make it look like a porn movie, right? All right, so was that TMI? Probably. You know, you may be a new mom. You know, you may want to wear skinny jeans or run a marathon. She goes on to say that, as we all know, getting healthy can be displeasurable, as she said. It's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's hell. It's good when it's good, but when it's not good, then you got to drag your ass to the gym or whatever, or you're walking into a grocery store and you haven't eaten and then you pass by the junk food aisle. You got to be focused in that respect. Now, the thing is with the focus, as she states, and I agree totally, is that you got to have perspective and you have to have long-term goals that make going through this day-to-day worth it. And she calls it finding your why. She says if you have a why to live for, you can tolerate the how, which is basically the work and the sacrifice associated with your goal. So when trying to figure out your why, it's difficult for most people. And she goes on to state that many people live in a way that they think they should live, and they've forgotten what they really want. In other words, they got no passion in their life. There's nothing that's passionate to them. And these days, I'm agreeing with this a lot. Although working out has been in my life for decades as a source of running away from problems, but also as a source to getting towards better things. Some of the times I've gone through it in a trance, just kind of maintaining, just kind of like, you know, it is a habit for me. It's what I do, but it's never always the same way year round. And it's only recently that I realized what I've had, what I want to get again, and the reason for it. Initially, some of the things that I've had because of this fitness lifestyle, I didn't want because I thought it was associated for negative reasons, that, you know, you're just vain, you're just this, you know, no substance. Now, as I get older, I realize that it's important. It's a selling tool. It's a marketing tool. You have to live the life. You cannot live a fake life if you're in this as a profession. And a lot of people still do. That's why steroids are very popular. That's why junk food is very popular. Just because someone looks the part doesn't mean that they are the part. That's another video in itself. And I think that, you know, we have to kind of go through this journey to be authentic in what we're doing. And the fitness industry is by far not authentic. It's very visual. So, I don't think that's a bad thing either. I don't think that's a bad thing to be visual. I don't think that's a bad thing to be sexually seductive. But there's a limit. That's the issue. The limit. There's a border, you know, not doing too much, a balance. You know, you don't want to cover yourself up, but you don't want to be, you know, completely exposed all the time, and that's your way of life, you know. So, my opinion. So, teaching, finding out what you really want is an exercise in kind of teaching yourself to become more present, mindful, thinking instead of doing things out of habit, and you don't know why. People grab food when they go to a movie, they grab food. When they watch TV, they grab food. When they pass by a certain place, they grab this food. When they take a shower, they think about the food they're going to eat right after, you know. So when you're more present in what you're doing, you can identify the things that you're passionate about and cultivate your why, your passion, your why you are doing all this. So I think it was a very good video. Once again, I'm going to link it in the description box. Yeah, I don't know if I've talked about myself too much within this, but you kind of get the idea that I relate to a lot of these issues, you know, these points that I've had my own issues I've recently had to work over. And I kind of feel that when you do, that you do get passionate and the passion comes back again. And that's a good feeling, because I don't like to force myself to do things unless there's a passion behind it. Then it doesn't seem like work. And I've had that before, and I'm having it slowly again. And that in turn makes you feel good about yourself. Have a good day.